Once upon a time in Egypt, there was a car salesman by the name of Karim who sold second-hand cars. One day he sold a car to a man named Tamer. A few days after Tamer took the car for a spin, he noticed that the car had some serious problems with the engine and the bodywork. He took it to several workshops and was told that the cost of repairing it was more than 20,000 Egyptian pounds, which was almost the same price as the car. Tamer was furious. He called Karim and asked him why he didn't tell him about these problems before the sale. Karim denied any wrongdoing and said that the car was in perfect condition when he sold it to Tamer. So, who was right and who was wrong, and what would happen next? Let's find out in today's episode. Hello and welcome to Legal Egypt, where we make the law easy and understandable for everyone. Today, we will talk about civil law warranty in Egypt, and we will answer the question: who is responsible for the damage, the seller or the buyer? In this story, the person who sold the car is called the seller, while the one who bought it is called the buyer. According to the Egyptian civil law, when someone sells something to another person, whether it is a tangible item like a car or an intangible item like a financial right, the seller is usually responsible for any hidden defects that cause damage to the buyer. This is called the warranty in sales under Egyptian civil law. The seller is obligated to answer for any hidden defect in the item he sold, provided that the defect makes the item unfit for its purpose. For example, if the car has a problem with the engine or the brakes, this can be considered a hidden defect because it affects the safety of the car and it was not apparent during the inspection. However, if the problem is obvious, such as a dent in the bodywork or a scratch, then it is not considered a hidden defect. But wait, how does the buyer prove that there was a hidden defect in the first place? The answer is simple, my friend. The buyer must show that the item is not fit for its purpose. In other words, he must prove that the car cannot be used as a car because of the engine problem. To do that, he can get an expert to inspect the car and prepare a report stating the defect and its impact on the use of the car. This report will be very important as evidence in court if the case goes to trial. But what are the rights of the buyer if he discovers a hidden defect in the item he purchased? According to the law, the buyer has several options. He can ask for the item to be repaired or replaced with a new one, or he can ask for a reduction in the price, or he can ask for compensation for any damages he suffered because of the defect. In this case, the most appropriate option for Tamer would be to ask for a price reduction since repairing the car would cost almost the same as the car itself. But what if the seller refuses to cooperate and insists that he is not responsible for the defect? In this case, the buyer can take the seller to court and claim his rights. But here's the thing, and please pay attention, my friends. The burden of proof is on the buyer to prove that there was a hidden defect in the item and that he suffered damages because of it. Therefore, it is very important for the buyer to keep all the documents related to the purchase, such as the sales contract, the expert's report, and any other evidence that can prove his case. Also, it is highly recommended that the buyer inspects the item before he buys it either by himself or through an agent, and that he takes the item to an expert to check its quality and conformity with the contract. This will help avoid any disputes or problems in the future. So what happened next in our story? After Tamer showed Karim the expert's report and told him about his rights according to the law, Karim realized that he could not escape liability. So he offered to settle the case amicably by reducing the price of the car by half, which was around 10,000 pounds. Tamer accepted the offer, and they both signed a settlement agreement. So, who was right and who was wrong in this story? Of course, the seller was wrong because he sold a car with a hidden defect without telling the buyer. And the buyer was right because he knew his rights under Egyptian civil law, and he took the necessary steps to protect himself. So what is the lesson we learned from this story, my friends? The lesson is that in Egyptian civil law, knowing your rights always protects you, and sometimes small details can make the difference between right and wrong. So pay attention to the terms and conditions of any sale you make or buy, and don't forget to inspect the item before purchase. Thank you for watching this episode, and see you in the next one.